Welcome to the Prosperity on Air podcast, episode 27. I'm your host, Paola De Vescovi. And today, the focus of this episode is on feeling happy and fulfilled in your job. So the focus is more on corporate careers. Very often when you are working in a company, and a big, but also in a small company, you're working for somebody else, you're working with other people, and these people are not necessarily the people that you have chosen or that you would choose to work with. And so there may be reasons to feel unhappy, dissatisfied, feeling the desire to change. And sometimes we tend to feel, the victims of circumstances, as if we are trapped in this situation and we stay there because maybe we've chosen this job out of fear or just because we were looking for financial security and we want to change. However, when we look at things from this perspective, so a perspective of dissatisfaction, fear, unhappiness, we cannot be clear about what we want and what are the things that we really don't want to choose for ourselves in our lives. And therefore, we may run the risk of remaining stuck in that situation or choosing maybe something that simply repeats what we already have. So focusing on finding the satisfaction, the happiness, the fulfillment in what we already have will help us also make better choices. And the rewards may be surprising. I mean, focusing on maybe listening more to our colleagues, our teammates, our boss, without necessarily feeling the need to respond to them, but just, listening to them to understand them more. This simple shift in perspective may lead to a better relationship, improved communication, and maybe discovering certain traits of that person that we didn't know were there. And probably these are also the things that we like in these people, and our relationship may be totally transformed. To talk about this topic, I have invited one of the speakers at the Women Who Dare to Desire conference taking place in London on January 31st, 2020. Over the past episodes, you have met some of the amazing speakers who will be there. My intent is that of helping you getting to know them better and better, so that if you come to the conference, you know who they are. They may be familiar, and you may want to to get to know them better in person. And so today with me, I have Lucia Pestana. Lucia is an HR professional, a mentor, and a coach. She's founded Pestana's HR and Coaching, and she's passionate about achieving a fulfilling career and supporting others to have the same. She's the creator of the Career Detox and Get the Job You Love programs, as well as the Hope Jars. During this episode, as I said, the focus is different. We focus on choosing the right career, and when you are in a career where you don't feel satisfied, what you can do to be happier there, to be more satisfied about your job, to find a way to improve your relationships in that career, and finally making different decisions, maybe leaving that career, but with a different clarity, because you know what you want, you know how you want to feel in your job, and you are exactly clear about what you don't want in your job or career. I don't want to talk too much, so let's move to my interview with Lucia Pestana. Thank you, Lucia, for being with me today.
You're welcome.
Yes, I have already introduced you to our audience, but I would like you to say something about yourself and what you do.
Okay. So I am a career coach. I'm also a mentor and a HR professional. I'm very obsessed about helping people to create their own job success. And I do this through using different techniques, from coaching, mentoring, and obviously my expertise and background in human resources as well. And yeah, so that's pretty much what I do.
Who is your, let me say, ideal client? So who are the clients you mostly work with?
Yeah, I work with absolutely everyone that, that is within an age and able to work. So I work with anyone from starting from 18 to the age of like 60, 70. But there is a special group, which is a group of people that normally are between their 30s and their 40s. And this is when people, they are in a place in their career where they've done the work, they earn the money, and they become dissatisfied with what they're doing because they did it for the wrong reasons. And this group of people, they normally come to me because they want to change their careers. And it happens normally between the age of 30 and 40. And, but it can happen later as well. So people normally, they will come to me, and ask me to guide them through the process of, defining what is the career, the career path that they really want to do, and then follow it through, because they want to be doing something that they are feeling fulfilled, that they're happy with, and that they love, really loving what they're doing. Rather than just doing it for money or even working for people that they're not really, or projects that they're not really passionate about.
So what is the main wrong reason people choose a certain career? Or the main wrong reasons? I imagine there's not just one.
Yeah. I think the main reason people choose the wrong career is fear. Yeah, is fear, because they fear they might not be successful. They might fear that they're not good enough. They might fear that they don't know enough about what is the career. And sometimes it is because, they fear, because they fear all of those things. They also fear bringing, bread on the table, which is the money. Money normally plays a big part in people's decision, because they need to feel that financial security to be able to provide for for themselves and for the families.
Yes. And how do you help them? I mean, how do you, what do you do to help them? And what is the normal outcome? I mean, I may be working, for example, in a company. I don't feel happy. I don't feel fulfilled, and I come to you. What is the common outcome too? Do your clients change company change career, or do they stay and, there is an evolution in the way they perceive and live their job?
Yes, I mean, there is two ways. So some of my clients, they will come to me, and I always say, do what you love, and if you don't do what you love, just love what you're doing in the meantime. So when you love what you're doing in the meantime, it takes away the stress, it takes away the pain of what they're doing. Sometimes when you're working for a company, what happens to you is that you become dissatisfied, you become bored, or there's nothing exciting, there's nothing challenging you anymore. You feel like you've done everything that you could have. In those cases, I get people to go on a journey and look within the situation and look within themselves and see what is it exactly that they're not happy with. And when they look at that and they look at what they're not happy with, we then go through a coaching process where I obviously try to peel up the layers and get them to uncover what is the bottom line of the issue. So that's one way. The other way is when we go into a program. So I have this program that I created, which is Get the Job You Love, and that process is about looking where they are now, where they would like to go, and like uncovering what is it that they truly want to do. And the process is not immediate because people still have the fear and need the security of being able to provide themselves. But it triggers a process that will be a continuous process, maybe for 3 months, 6 months to a year, where they go and become better at what they're doing. So, for example, I had clients that they were working in finance in a very secure job with good financial, security, but they wanted to do something completely different. They wanted to go and work and start a spiritual business. So they went through a process, and definitely the process went through, from starting to see where they could potentially go, to then started taking courses where they feel that they had more knowledge, to then within a year, they have finally made that move into the job they absolutely desired, or in this case was starting their own business.
I have two questions in mind. The first one is, do you think that the dissatisfaction is an individual issue, or there might be something that depends on the company environment? And by this I mean, could the leadership of the company do something to help their employees, the managers, to be more satisfied? Mm-hmm. This is one question. The other, I will ask it later. Okay.
Yes, absolutely. So the companies can do what they can do. I mean, I work in HR. So if someone comes to me and they need help, I obviously will, move the world to help them, in terms of their career. And I do get that very often. Companies cannot act when people do not speak. And sometimes people, they become so dissatisfied and not speaking up what they really want. They don't speak up with what is wrong. They don't speak up with, they don't express themselves in terms of like saying, I'm not really happy with this. Can you help me to make it better? When the companies is not, and this is the fear situation as well as, communication, because sometimes we get so engrossed in the bad feeling, in the bad feeling about work, that we refuse to talk about it to the right people because we think that they're not going to listen, but we're not even attempting to ask them. So it is a very internal battle, and it's being open. It's, you have to be open and open to be speaking about it and understanding that, it's nothing wrong with what you're feeling. In the end of the day, you want to make it better for yourself, and you need to make it better for the companies, because, in that moment in time, the relationship is not working, So it works both ways, I would say.
Okay. And the other question is, do you observe, do you see common patterns or common reasons for feeling dissatisfied, within in your work? You said when I asked you, what is the common cause of, making the wrong choice when you choose a career or a job, and you said it's mainly fear. In case of dissatisfaction, can you observe common reasons for feeling dissatisfied?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes one of the major cause of dissatisfaction is when people not doing what they meant to be doing. So I work in hospitality industry, for example, and I've been working in hospitality industry for 20 years, 21 years actually. So I understand, the industry very much in and out, but everyone working in the industry is very much transient. So basically people that are doing hospitality, they either, I studied graphic design myself before I went into HR and coaching, but it's like there is people that, they have, film studies. There's people that have a different, career. People are architects, lawyers. And then they end in hospitality, because in the UK, hospitality is an industry that is very welcoming, and you don't need to be very skilled to do it. You learn the skills on the job. So sometimes there is the frustration. I think one of the biggest things is the frustration that the people have, that they should be doing more, or they should be doing what they want to do. I think that's one of the biggest things. The other thing is, people sometimes, there's people that depend a lot on praise, and they live on praise. So they need to be acknowledged and praised all the time by their bosses. In a fast-paced moving, industry like hospitality, sometimes there is not the time, and people forget to do it. People forget to do it. They're just doing the job. And I think that's very important to always give praise. People not communicating enough as well. And I think that is one of the biggest reasons why people become dissatisfied, because people are not open to speak, and other people are not opening to listen as well. So that breakdown in communication means that you cannot work with any of the problems that might be there.
And I think the communication problem is something that, it's common in many situations and in all kinds of relationships. So being
Absolutely.
a personal relationship or a professional relationship, there's no communication, the relationship doesn't work. Yeah. And what can we do to improve communication?
I think the biggest thing that we can do to get over communication is get over ourselves. Get over our fears of expressing ourselves, and just say how it is. Like if we don't feel it, people cannot go against you with the way you feel. But what I witness many times is that people feel in a certain way, and when you have the other side of the story, is because people perceived in the wrong way. It's not because there is actual truth or fact, or someone might say, oh, my manager doesn't like me, and they think that because maybe the way they act, or maybe the way they express themselves. And sometimes there is not real ill feeling behind that. It's just because the business is a very fast pace. It's because there is not enough communication. It's because if you don't tell a person how you feel, how they can respond to you, they can't. One of the sayings I use so much is that, I'm really good at what I do, but I can't read minds. And a lot of times is, I see people expecting people to understand how they feel, but they don't even communicate. So yeah, that is how I feel about it.
Yeah. And Lucia, if you had to advise a young person who is looking for, a job opportunity or a career today, so that, they can really enter the professional labor market the right way, and, minimizing the risk to feel frustrated, dissatisfied, what would you suggest? What are the questions that they should ask themselves to understand whether, the job or career that they are choosing is, at least the right one for the moment? Of course, that there's an evolution and we can change, but at least you need to be happy and satisfied for, a reasonable amount of time. What would you suggest?
Okay, I think the first question I would suggest them to ask is that, what do I really want to do? The second one would be, am I doing this for myself, or am I doing this for my parents? Because a lot of times, people are coerced into doing what their parents want them to do rather than what they want to do themselves. I personally have been very lucky, but I've witnessed a lot of people doing things because the parents wanted them to. The other question is, be patient. Yeah. If it takes you 10 years to become an architect, if it takes you 5 years to become an architect, 10 years to become a doctor, do the time. Nowadays it's a lot easier to be able to support yourself financially in terms of like the time you're studying. There is a lot of companies that are offering part-time job, casual jobs, and whatnot. So do not fear, being patient and taking the time, to get the knowledge that you need for the career that you want. Don't worry if it takes 1 year, if it takes 10 years, just do the work, and just go through the paces and look at other ways where you can support yourself financially, because that is one of the biggest fears. And, if you are a young person and you are like 18 and 20 years old, and you don't have the money to buy yourself a car, or you're still depending a lot on your parents, you feel like, oh my God, but my friend is doing that. Just let's take away the fear. Your friend is your friend. You are on your own journey. So, be patient.
And what would be your best piece of advice to a person who is struggling in his or her job?
Stop. Yeah, my advice would be for them to stop with struggle and with the scarcity mentality, and the fear. They need to stop being a victim. Basically, when we are in that self-pity, I don't like my job, I hate my job, and things like that. I have been in that position as well. So, I can briefly describe to you. So before I went into HR, so when I finished my studies at uni, I studied graphic design. At the time, there was no jobs going for graphic design. So I went and worked hospitality. I was working in a company that I was not really happy about. I went into really big depression. The company was not aligned with my values. And then when I got out of that company and I got out of the depression, when I look back now, all of it was happening because I couldn't speak up. I could not communicate. It was not the ideal place in the world. It was not the ideal place in the world, but I went into the victim mentality. I went deeper into my depression. because I felt they couldn't understand me. It was not the right company for me to work for, but then everything changed when I went to my next company. Because when I went to my next company, I said, I don't want to be in that place again. I don't want to be that victim. I really want to learn, and I want to explore and, move my career further. And, that's when everything happened. So I went and worked in another hospitality, but then I had the opportunity. I studied HR, I learned HR, I studied coaching. So, I completely moved away from that, victim mentality. So, we need to stop, and we need to also make ourselves accountable for why we don't like it, what is really happening in this situation, and the question to ask, can I change it? If I can't, I don't need to worry about it. And then I ask the other question is, what is in my control that I can do to change the current situation? And there will be, some things come up. So it can be that, maybe it's time for me to look out for another job. Maybe I need to look for another career, or maybe, I can make my work situation better and stay here until I find, what will be my next job.
And what would be your best piece of advice to employers, managers who, manage many human resources working for them?
For me, the best advice is listen to understand, not to respond. A lot of people, sometimes they're not listening for the sake of listening. They're listening to just respond or even discredit sometimes what people are saying. Listen to understand, not to respond. Sometimes people, what they need is to be heard. And, once you get to listen to someone and they are heard, they just take this load from themselves. They just feel, a lot lighter, in terms of, the stress that they might have been feeling in. And it's about, just listen to understand. Sometimes you don't need to respond. People just need to express themselves. And the thing is, if a employer or a HR, any company that, most of the times the things that people ask to be changed can be changed in an instant. Take action and change.
And don't be afraid to change.
No.
Yeah. Sometimes, many people fear change.
Yeah.
But sometimes change, it's what allows us to evolve. And this applies, I think, to companies as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Lucia, thank you so much for being with us today. And just, I want to remind my audience that you are going to be one of the amazing speakers at the Women Who Dare to Desire conference taking place in London on the 31st of January 2020. So for people who are already in London or who will happen to be in London at that time, please come to the conference, because you're going to be inspired by the stories of many amazing speakers. And for those who are not in London, maybe the conference can be a good excuse for you to spend, a weekend there and also be inspired with us at the conference. So thank you again for being with me. And I'm really looking forward to meeting you in person there.
Absolutely. I would love to. Thank you for doing the interview. You've been amazing. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Lucia. I hope you have been inspired by this episode with Lucia. As you have heard, sometimes just a little shift in perspective can help you live the situation you are in at the moment in a very different way, or it can help you make that change that will really transform your life. As in all the other episodes, all the links to know more about Lucia and her programs are in the show notes of this episode. And in the same show notes, you also find the link to reserve your seat at the Women Who Dare to Desire conference taking place in London on the 31st of January 2020. A great opportunity to be inspired, to be immersed in an amazing energy with other like-minded women. An opportunity for you to spend a weekend in London if you don't live there, and so you have to buy a ticket to come to the conference. So I hope to see you there. And if you have found this episode of the Prosperity on Air podcast useful and inspiring, please share it with other women as well as men who maybe need some inspiration to make those changes that they need in their life to be able to live the life of their dreams, or simply to be able to make those choices that will really make a difference in their lives. Next week is going to be Christmas Day, but there will be an episode of the Prosperity on Air podcast on the 24th. I wish you an amazing week full of inspiration and joy in preparation for the holiday season, and I will see you in a week's time. Bye for now.